Hey, you busy? Mm-mm. Okay, let me run something past you real quick. I had an extremely emotional yet rewarding day yesterday. I realized that some of the most pivotal moments, impressional moments in your life can continue to suffocate you if you do not recognize the arms around your neck. I had one of the most groundbreaking experiences happen because God is not playing when it comes to my freedom. I'm going to go ahead and just tell you a little bit of my business. If I hear it on the streets, I'm coming straight to you, friendly, but with prayer, but with hands. Okay, right? So this is what happened. I am the kind of person that I can't have a whole bunch of stuff in my mind. If I start to see that my thoughts are circulating and I had this thought before, but I'm still trying to figure it out, I immediately need to grab me something to jot something down with because I have to see what it is that I'm trying to dissect. It's like I can't have the puzzle pieces floating around in my mind. I need to actually see it on paper. So I was running into a situation, and what was happening was I wanted to do a whole lot of different things within a particular financial period. And I'm like, how am I going to make all this happen? Right. And so I'm really good at planning. I'm really good at budgeting. I'm really good at all of those things. But what I found out was I try to do things in a very orchestrated, reconstructed, or pre constructed way. And that's not at all me. So I had three particular items I wanted to do. I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do that. And I'm looking and I'm trying to move the pieces around. I'm trying to look at the budget. And I'm like, how I'm going to win. And what I discovered was I was trying to make myself be okay with what wasn't okay for me. And after reading Luke 9, something happened in me. When I read that Jesus already sent the disciples ahead and was like, tell the people of Samaria, I need to go through that village in order to get to Jerusalem to make this whole Calvary thing pop off. You see what I'm saying? They came back and they was like, oh, the people of Samaria, they said no. And so the disciples was hot. Understandably so. How y'all finna tell Jesus no? Like, no, you not. And so they was like, Jesus, should we call down fire from heaven? And the Bible says that Jesus rebuked them and they just found another way to get to Jerusalem. Now that stuck with me after you and I discussed it. And so what kept echoing to me is stop putting so much strength in doing something one way when God allowed you to be the part of creation where you can be creative to create another lane. Samaritan is not the only way to get there. This job is not the only way to get successful. That particular business is not the only way to be an entrepreneur. Living over there is not the only way to have home ownership. Like whatever it is that you're trying to ascertain, please stop putting so much energy into the road that is closed that you forget that you can create another. And so that was echoing to me when I was trying to make those pieces hit. I was like, okay, there's something that I'm trying to force that is clearly not working. I need to create another way. And it was simple stuff. I wanted to buy decor at this particular location. I wanted to go ahead and do A, B, and C, and I wanted to do C. And so I felt myself being nudged by the Holy Spirit, like, remember what I taught you in Luke 9. And I was like, yeah. And so then I stopped looking at those three items like it has to be this way. And I started asking myself a new question. What's another way that I can do these three things, still honor what it is that I desire, but not trap myself like Samaritan is the only way to get there? So I started doing some Googling. I'm like, okay, I want this piece of decor. How else can I get this same value, this same blah, 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 not particularly from this store, but maybe I need to go to another merchant. And I kept hearing I promise you, it was so softly said to me by the Holy Spirit, there's another way. And so I'm looking and I'm like, but what other way? See, the problem is most times similar to me, we are not even factoring in another way because we're so set on this way. We are so set on Samaritan that it's like, listen, I only factored gas in for this. I only budgeted for this. I only planned a vacation for here. That you didn't even allow yourself to zoom out and expand your scope so that you can see a possible another path, perhaps. It can still be a vacation, but it can be over there. It can still be a celebration, but it just won't be with that many people. It like you have to start looking at it like, how can I still get what I'm trying to feel in my heart? How can I still paint the picture that I see in my mind and not have it where it costs me where I'm still uncomfortable? Imagine still saying, and we still going through Samaritan. Okay, but guess what, disciples? Y'all called down fire from heaven. So now instead of walking through a regular village, you got to walk through some smoke now and some fire and cover your nose. Like now you've made it uncomfortable because you forced something that was supposed to just be one of the many options. And so I started looking around like, okay, how can I still get this? And I'll tell you what it was. It was really simple. It was garland. You know how you can decorate like the banister of the stairs or like the fireplace. So like I wanted a particular set of garland, but I needed so many of them that it was like, oh, this is starting to get costly. And the only place that I knew to do it was Hobby Lobby. And I'm like, cause anything decor, that's where you want value. That's where my mind goes. Hobby Lobby. And so I'm pricing it and I'm like, I'm trying to do a lot. It's not that I didn't have certain things that I wanted. I just wanted more. And so I'm like, I was trying to convince myself, do you really need more? You already have what you want. I'm like, no, but I want garland. And so like, I could not bury the thought of like, oh, I'll just get it next year or, oh, we'll just won't have it this. It was like, no. For whatever the reason, that thing was a burning desire. I want that. It's not immoral. It's not throwing my budgeting all over the place, but it is like, ooh, you getting ready to dig deep into your pocket for this garland. I ain't gonna hold you. And so I was like, okay. After going through all of that, I was like, you didn't even look at any other merchant. So I looked up Amazon real quick and I'm like, they look real scarce. I want the fluffy, okay? I want the like, ooh, it looks like I want some quality. You see what I'm saying? Because you're not going to have me buying stuff from Dollar General. Then I have to continue to keep buying the same thing. I'm the grandbaby that once I get it once, I want to go ahead and reuse, recycle all the things the following years to come. And so then the thought came up, did you look at Big Lots? So I was like, huh. So I actually went to Big Lots, but I didn't see what I was looking for. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And then I heard ever so gently, did you look at Big Lots online? I was like, no, I never shopped on it. I mean, wouldn't they have the same thing? Do you know that I went ahead and looked up Big Lots online? They not only had what I was looking for, they not only had what I was looking for with the quality, because I was able to see pictures and reviews, they had items on the website that were not in the store. And I literally paid less than 1/3 of the cost of what I would have paid trying to stick to Samaritan. In this particular example, Hobby Lobby. And that got my attention. I said, what happened in my life that I only saw two items? Either is this way or I got to bury the idea. And I knew exactly where it came from. It was certain childhood things for sure. I was able to pull up some examples there. But then I realized what life offers people, especially those who are chosen to free others. I realized that I was always told what I should be doing, what it should look like, and I was never given the opportunity to truly explore and spread my wings the way that I desired. In middle school, I had this grand idea for home because I've always been very creative. I've always been very expressive. I've always been that grandbaby. You understand? And I had a canopy bed. You know, the ones that have the pole and then it has the little, yeah, the little sheet thing over it. Yeah, so I had a canopy bed and my canopy bed was white. And I had this grand idea because I was always changing the room around and all of that, that this time, instead of just changing the room around, I wanted to paint my furniture, which would include my canopy bed that was white at the time, my desk, which was the regular, whatever the color of the oak was, and my dresser that also played as a TV stand because you know how we got down back in the day. So 3 pieces of furniture. I'm going to paint it. And I made it this big ordeal. I was like, nobody come into my room. I'm going to go ahead and paint. Clearly, I'm underage. I think at that point I was 14. I didn't have a job. So somebody had to fund the idea. So they gave me the money. I went ahead and go for the paint. I picked up colors that made sense to me, a good old red and a good old blue. And this is how we're doing it. On the canopy, I'm going to paint stripes. So it's going to look like candy canes all year round. And then my desk, I'm going to paint that thing all blue. I'm talking about from the rooter to the tutor. And then my dresser, I'm going to paint that entire thing red because why not? We just need to go ahead and flip it up. I bought 2 cans of paint. We need to be painting stuff 2 different colors. And I did all the work and I was excited that Saturday afternoon, and I closed my door and called my parents and my brother and everybody standing around. Because here we are getting ready to see the extravaganza that is me. And I'm like, is everybody ready? And they're like, yeah, because the excitement was uncontainable. And I opened up the door and I'm like, ta-da! It's so excited. And my mother was like, what did you do? You ruined your furniture. And everything else that she said after that, including that it was ugly, including that why did I do that? And I was mortified. Oh my goodness, that crushed my little heart. Oh my goodness, to the point that adult me right now is nursing that. And my stepdad came up to me, put his arm around my neck, and pretty much shifted the way that I was standing so that my back would be toward my mother so that I can just look at him, and the tears just dropped. And when she left, now knowing he probably gave her a look or something that said, "Hey, can you move real quick?" When she left, I looked at him and I said, "You knew I was going to cry." And he was like, "Mm-hmm." And I just put my head down and he was like, "You like it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay." And then that was it. But what I took away from that situation was, do not fly. Do not be the one that spreads your wings. You're too much. Your ideas are too much. When you do stuff and you get excited, you ruin things. And so I started to see portions of my life where the enemy aided to that. Either I was told by somebody, you're too tall, you're too sensitive. It was always a two. At the job, you're too sensitive. You need to have thicker skin. In the relationship, you're a goody two shoes. You need to, loosen up a little bit. You need to drink. I don't know how to roll up weed. Y'all gonna have to have a nice day. Like, all of this is weird to me. It feels wrong. I've always had a compass. God was very, very much in my life earlier on than what I gave him credit for. But it was like, how come this feels like I shouldn't be here? So no, I didn't go to all the parties and I didn't do all the things. And sidebar, I had a very strict mother. So like, I can't come home smelling and looking like certain things. I'm gonna get in trouble. And who gonna get that beaten? Y'all? No, because that's not how that works. And so there was just so much that life literally started to bend my wings. And I became a proverbial walking butterfly. And what that caused me to do was tell myself, I know you have an urge to fly, but you got to keep walking because this is how you sustain normalcy. I know you have an urge to do things different. I know you have an urge to speak different. I know your palate for certain things is just, it don't look like the people around you. But in order to keep normalcy, in order to keep relationships, in order to keep everybody, on one accord, you got to continue to walk. And what I did not realize is that God did not create the legs of butterfly to endure walking long distances. So then I'm trying to figure out why I'm so tired all the time, why I'm irritable, why I don't feel whole, why I don't feel satisfied, why I don't feel content. And it's because if you would use a form of transportation that God designed you for, if everybody else around you is crawling cool, but you can't continue to crawl to them, because that means that you're continuing to lie to yourself. There's something in you that says, I want to aviate, I want to take flight. There's something in me that wants to go ahead and explore the other side of this garden of life. There's something in me that wants to go ahead and just, ooh, what is this, a flower? And you're trying to stay with people who are just used to ground level experiences. And God is like, you're going to have to choose. And I want you to stop choosing the one that makes you bury your wings. And I was like, how did God pull all of this from me trying to budget? And it's because what you don't heal shows up in the oddest of places. Number one, I didn't even know that situation when I painted my furniture as a child. I didn't even know that that was still in the queue. But God has been really, really working on me. I told him I want to be free and free indeed, the way that it says in John 8. Like God, Jesus didn't do all that he did for me to still be halfway nailed to anything if he already did what he needed to do at Calvary and resurrected. I don't want to be any part of nails, crosses. He did all of that for me. And so at this point, anything that still has me nailed that I'm not aware of, because I've been so used to still walking and still doing things, with impartial or parts of me, whatever that thing still is, I need you to shed light on it. I need you to show me how to resolve it, and I want you to show me how to cast it. And that's exactly what he's been doing. So stuff is resurfacing, and I'm like, oh man, is that why I second guess myself in certain the most simplistic things? It's like, I don't really understand why that you really like, ooh, should I or shouldn't I? It's like, ma'am, order the fries. Like, why is that such a like you making it shouldn't be Jeopardy. Why is everything a Jeopardy theme song? Like, what are we doing? And I realized that this particular season of my life requires me to honor my wings. Requires for me to honor my wings. I have fully extended my wings as the butterfly that God created me to be, to the point that I'm now looking at the colors and I'm going, has those vibrant colors been there that whole entire time? Has that pattern been there that whole entire time? Oh my gosh. And I'm falling so in love with my own wings that I don't even have the desire to bury them anymore. So anyone or anything that requires for me to bury my wings is clearly spaces and places with people I can't entertain. I can't be there if I can't bring me in totality. I can't be there if I can't be extremely to the extent e- extended. I can't be there if everyone is asking me to wear a cardigan. I can't. It's going to smother my wings. If everyone's asking me to do anything that doesn't align to the way that God created me. And now I get it. I get it why certain jobs I didn't fit. I get it why with certain personalities I didn't fit. Because the only way to fit in certain places with certain people is you going to have to play small. And God is like, you're done with that. I need you to go ahead and extend your wings. I need you to love your wings. I need you to actually use your wings. I need you to, and I'm like, yo, oh, he's not playing with me, and he's not. And I understand now why I have to do things differently, like even simplistic things when it comes to my bank account. While everybody else is looking for several streams of revenue, I'm the type of person I need several different accounts. And God put this in my heart, and I was like, this has been the answer all along. I need three things at all times, even when it comes to finances. I need wiggle room, I need consistency, and I need growth and progress. But the way in which I need to see that, it has to be visually apparent. So I literally have 3 different accounts that are titled margin. That way I know, okay, this is wiggle room. So if you needed an extra piece of whatever, you don't have to pull from here and then. That's the wiggle room you're looking for. Then I have a small fry. I call it small fish, a small fish account. Why do I call it small fish? Because I look at resources as oil and the things that come into your life as fish. And so when things come up, all you doing is spreading enough oil for that particular fish. You not putting a gallon of water for no goldfish. You see what I'm saying? Like oil is it's a resource that you have to be aware of its expense and then also be aware of how much of it you're getting ready to pour. And so small fish, I had to name that second account that. If anything, small fish come around. What's the small fish? Unexpected bill that you like, wait a minute. They said that my copay, yeah, go ahead and just, so I need a small fish. But I need small fish to remain the same. I need there to be a certain amount in that account at all times, and I need it to remain the same. And then I have my big fish account. And big fish that's the one where you're clumping in your 3 to 6 month savings or however the amount if you want to do a year. But that's the thing that I'm going to see, okay, is progress. And when I went ahead and renamed and reconstructed and recalibrated our accounts, I was like, wow, I felt instantly better. And so God was like, where you may have got this revelation with money, I need you to understand that that's literally you all across the board. I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? He said, you're the type, you don't like to be trapped. You don't like rules so restrictive that it's like, bruh, I got to sit at this desk for 8 hours straight, never get up unless I'm using the bathroom. And if I use the bathroom, it's 5 minutes. And if it's anything over 5 minutes, you got to go ahead and speak to management about why you, like, what are we doing? I don't like, that feels very much slaved. Like, he's like, yeah, you don't like feeling entrapped. So you need wiggle room. You also need consistency. You need the consistency of seeing things are not forever changing where it doesn't make sense. Things are, the basis of what you loved is still there. The basis of what got you to the seat, got you to the position, got you to the contract, got you to the person, that the bones is still there. And then you need to see progress, because anything else to you feels like stagnation. So yeah, this was cool for me to go ahead and say yes to the job, but I don't want to stay at the salary. This was cool for me to say yes to the friendship, but we're not gonna we gonna keep talking about celebrity gossip for the rest of our, like, we're not doing nothing else different. We ain't getting no money, we ain't getting no ideas, we ain't getting no revelations, no clarity. Like, what we doing? Where we at? We have plans? Oh, okay, well. You understand? And so then I started to realize, anytime that I suppress those parts of me, I saw a demise inside. I felt crumbled. I felt cramped. I felt and things were coming up in my spirit. I was like, wait a minute. Honor your wings. That's the answer? And it was like, very much yes. Why? Because you have to remember to do that for yourself. You have to remember to, hey, wait a minute. Who are you? Where are you? How did God create you? Are you supposed to be there? Are you supposed to be there with that person? There are certain things that, just like, you may not be able to be best friends with a grasshopper at all times, because the most that they can do is jump where you're flying to. You just may have to be okay with, okay, the moths that I was cool with, they have wings and they were flying, but they stay in one place all the time. And so they may have similarities to me, but they very much practice a stagnant lifestyle that doesn't appeal to me. So you and the moth may not be able to be friends, or maybe not able to be married, or may not be able to start that business together, because y'all only have one similarity, and that one similarity bores you. You understand? Maybe that's why God didn't put all them different colors on moths and stuff, because, like, all you doing is standing in one place. Like, ain't nobody gonna be mesmerized by that. Anytime you see a beautiful butterfly, you watch the trail of it and you like, wow. When the last time you did that with a moth? Correct. And so this freedom walk requires so much revelation that you have to be so aware of where God is taking you that you refuse for people to entrap you. And I said, once again, we're going to have to talk about Buddy David because I tell you what, he has so much fruit in his story that I'm just like, I can continue to pull. I'm going to pull from the obvious places, but I'm going to add a little bit more fruit. I want to start from 1 Samuel 16. You know, I read from the NLT version, right? I want to start where Samuel actually went ahead and anointed David, right? Backdrop, God told Samuel, all right, it's a wrap for Saul. I'm done with him. I need you to anoint a new king. I need you to go to Jesse's house. I need you to anoint one of his sons. I'll tell you what it is. Samuel was like, oh, for sure it has got to be Eliab because he was fine and he was the oldest and he was tall. And God was like, nope, you looking at the outer appearance. I look at the heart. It is nothing of the sorts. So we're going to start from verse 12. So Jesse sent for him, pause, meaning David, because after a while, all the 7 brothers were there. But Samuel was like, God didn't choose any of these. So like, do you have any more sons? And Jesse's like, yeah, I got one more. He's in the back though. So this is where we're picking up 12. So Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes, and the Lord said, this is the one, anoint him. 13. So David stood there among his brothers. Samuel took the flask of olive oil he had bought and anointed David with the oil, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. Then Samuel returned to Ramah. 13. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormented spirit that filled him with a depression and fear. 15. Some of Saul's servants said to him, a tormenting spirit from God is troubling you. Rebuke that in the name of Jesus. 16. Let us find a good musician to play the harp whenever the tormenting spirit troubles you. He will play soothing music, and you will soon be well again. 17. All right. Saul said, find me someone who plays well and bring him here. 18. One of the servants said to Saul, one of Jesse's sons from Bethlehem is a talented harp player. Not only that, he is a brave warrior, a man of war, and has good judgment. He is also a fine-looking young man, and the Lord is with him. 19. So Saul sent messengers to Jesse to say, send me your son David, the shepherd. 20. So Jesse responded by sending David to Saul, along with a young goat, a donkey loaded with bread, and a wineskin full of wine. 21. So David went to Saul and began serving him. Saul loved David very much, and David became his armor bearer. 22. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, asking, please let David remain in my service, for I'm very pleased with him. 23. And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubles Saul, David will play the harp. Then Saul would feel better, and the tormenting spirit will go away. Pause. That's 1 Samuel 16, right? In 1 Samuel 17, the very next chapter over, that's when we have the whole situation with Goliath. Because David was going back and forth between his brother and then serving with Saul and doing the whole harp thing and making Saul feel better, this, that, and the third. And then along the way, that time that he was delivering that one time, that one day, he saw that Goliath was talking greasy and he was like, yo, I'm finna go ahead and put hands on him. And he had a little bit of an obstacle course because his brother has something to say. Saul wasn't completely all the way sold. And it was like, I don't really know how this is going to work. But you know what? He went ahead and he got the victory. Praise God, because he picked up 5 smooth stones and he did it in a way that was true to him. But then let's go to the very next chapter, 1 Samuel 18. 1. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. 2. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. 3. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he loved himself. 4. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David, together with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. 5. Whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So Saul made him a commander over the men of war, an appointment that was welcomed by the people and Saul's officers alike. Pause. Okay, that was the outcome. And that was amazing. But what I really want to bring attention to is First Samuel, because this really blew my mind. I was like, time out. It doesn't make sense to me that, and I'm going to, hold on. Okay, we're going to go here. Okay, let's continue to read. I'm going to jump down. Let's see. So he got the tunic and all that was great and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so watch how it all changes. 6. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, women from all the towns of Israel came out to meet King Saul. They sang and danced for joy with tambourines and cymbals. 7. This was their song. Saul has killed his thousands and David his 10,000s. 8. This made Saul very angry. What's this? He said. They credit David with 10,000s and me with only thousands? Next, they'll be making him their king. 9. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. 10. The very next day, a tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul, and he began to rave in his house like a madman. David was playing the harp as he did each day, but Saul had a spear in his hand and suddenly hurled it at David, intending to pin him to the wall, but David escaped him twice. 12. Saul was then afraid of David, for the Lord was with David, and he had turned away from Saul. 13. Finally, Saul sent him away and appointed him commander over 1,000 men, and David faithfully led his troops into battle. 14. David continued to succeed in everything he did, for the Lord was with him. 15. When Saul recognized this, he became even more afraid of him. 16. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he was so successful at leading his troops into battle. Pause. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. So we literally have it where the one that y'all were like, oh, he can't do it. The one where y'all were like, oh, you know what? I don't really think that. Where's your small sheep? All these other different things that went on. I wanted to show you that outcome because I wanted to show you this in the previous verse or the previous chapter. 1 Samuel 17. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, this is after Goliath, they turned and ran. 52. Then the men of Israel and Judah gave a great shout of triumph and rushed over the Philistines, chasing them as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron. The bodies of the dead and the wounded Philistines were strewn all along the road from Sharaman as far as Gath and Ekron. 53. Then the Israelite army returned and plundered and deserted the Philistine camp. 54. David took the Philistine's head to Jerusalem, but he stored the man's armor in his own tent. 55. As Saul watched David go out to fight the Philistine, he asked Abner, the commander of his army, Abner, whose son is this young man? I really don't know, Abner declared. 56. Well, find out who he is, the king told him. 57. As soon as David returned from killing Goliath, Abner brought him to Saul with his Philistine's head still in his hand. Tell me about your father, young man, Saul said. And David replied, his name is Jesse, and we live in Bethlehem. Time out. That don't make no sense. In the chapter beforehand, in 1 Samuel 16, we already knew who David was. You already knew who his father was. You already knew what David was about. 1 Samuel 16 says in verse 18, one of the servants said to Saul, one of Jesse's sons from Bethlehem is a talented harp player. Not only that, he is a brave warrior, a man of war, and has good judgment. He is also is a fine-looking man, and the Lord is with him. 19. So Saul sent messengers to Jesse to say, send me your son, the shepherd. Pause. So why is it that people always forget when it's convenient to them? This is the conversation that's happening only because of the harp situation, because once David was anointed, the Spirit of God got off of Saul. So if this is a conversation that's being had now, why was there confusion when David was like, "Oh, I can go ahead and defeat this Goliath in the next chapter over"? And then why was there confusion in the next chapter after that when people were acknowledging, "Oh, David can kill 10,000s and Saul only killed thousands"? Why was there confusion? Why is there that people always forget who you are when it's time for you to show up? Why is it that people forget how valuable you are when the value of the situation is showing its head, is peeking his head? You knew from the beginning, sir. Not only does Buddy play a harp, he's actually a talented harp player. Okay, great. He's actually a brave warrior. He's actually a man of war. You knew his resume before you hired him, and now you're surprised that God is promoting him in the company. You knew what she was, sir, and now you're surprised that many people find her attractive and want to marry her outside of you. You knew what it was, and that is why it's important for you to spread your wings, and you don't forget your wings. You don't forget that you're a butterfly. You don't forget that you have this beautiful pattern and these vibrant colors on you. You can't forget that, because at every chance, people will forget and people will try to put a cardigan on your wings. And you got to remember, I know people want me to remain a harp player, but God anointed for me to be king. I know that people want me to remain a shepherd like my daddy does, because after this, there shouldn't have been no reason why he's going from his father to Saul. Because what that really shows is you were between trying to remain a shepherd and trying to remain a harp player. And all the while, you're King David. We got to be careful of the people who try to entrap us and glue our wings down and tape our wings down and say things at the wrong time, the way that my mother did when I was painting my furniture. It was the wrong time for Saul to tell David, when it was actually time to fight Goliath, you couldn't possibly win. That's the wrong time to tell somebody that their rings are not utilized at this moment. Eliab telling him, "Oh, where's your few sheep?" That's the wrong time for his oldest brother to go ahead and want to pick a fight. But you have to understand, it doesn't matter if anyone else doesn't honor your wings. You have a responsibility to spread them. It does not matter if anyone else forgets your value, which you come with. You need to always remember, I'm going to forever spread my wings, and any locations and any person that does not allow me to do that to my fullest extent are places and people that are too small for me. I am so glad that when Saul questioned, that when his older brother questioned, David didn't question himself. I am so glad that he was so clear on who he was, and he didn't need to try to show anybody else I can try to be anything other than what God created for me to be. I am so glad that I was able to pull from this section to see Saul already knew who he was and continued to forget who he was. That even at the end, it was like, who's this boy's father? But you knew that 2 chapters ago. So we don't even know what the time frame was before that. But how soon we forget the person that soothed you. It's cool if you remember his daddy's name. But how soon you forgot the person that soothed you, and how soon you was to go ahead and compete with the person that you already knew was supposed to take your position anyway. You already knew that he was a warrior. The fact that you even felt some kind of way that he killed 10,000, you only killed 1,000. You already was told that he was a brave warrior. So why did that 10,000? Why did that number do something to you? Why did it make you feel some kind of way? It didn't erase you from the board. You just didn't like that somebody was above you on the board. This is why it is pertinent that we always remember who we are in a humble way. Because, oh, how soon they forget. How soon they forget how valuable you are in that family. How soon they forget that you're the one that's the strong one. And the reason why everybody keeps calling on you is because you're the one that actually got your stuff together. And you're the one that actually gives the shoulder to cry on. And you're the one that actually gives sound advice. And you're the one that, you know what, while people are trying to gossip and spread the venom, you actually trying to have a kumbaya. Oh, how soon they forget that they start to call your strength weaknesses, and you too soft, and you no my softness and my sensitivity, and the thing that you're miscalculating and miscategorizing as weakness is the one thing that's keeping this family together. Oh, how soon they forget at the job that your ideas and your insight and the things that God has placed in you and all these other different, oh, how soon they forget. And so then when they don't want you on the next project, and it's almost like you feel like you have to go ahead and re-describe yourself and re-interview. It's like, why? You got the position. They saw your value. They saw your resume. They saw your education. They see what you can do. They see it in, but then they got threatened by it. And so they started to collaborate and see, how can we keep her down? How can we keep him from being promoted? If he keeps going in this way, he gonna own the company. If he keeps going this way, he gonna make more money somewhere else. And so how do we trap him, and how do we forget, and how do we keep him forgetful of his wings? Oh, how soon they forget in a relationship. You forgot that I was the one that helped you with your credit. I was the one that helped you with your finances. That I was the one that helped you with your childhood wounds. Oh, how soon they forget. And I don't care who it is. And I don't care if it's King or if it's your uncle. I don't care if it's your mother or if it's the VP of your company. I don't care who it is. They can all forget just as long as you don't. Because your authenticity is tied to what you know about yourself. David had to literally be like, I know what I can do. And I know what I can do with 5 smooth stones. And I heard y'all talk about Buddy, but y'all need to ask about me. And that is your challenge. I want you to look at any area you are currently uncomfortable in and be brave enough to examine, have you smothered your wings? And have you allowed for other people to tape them down, just so that you can remain in certain places with certain people? And everything that, once you go ahead and identify that, I pray that God goes ahead and allows you the next steps, and that he gives you insight on what you need to do thereafter, because you can't remain a crawling butterfly. Spread your wings. Do you understand that? All right, listen, I feel like you got what you needed. You know what these conversations are, though, right? They are life-provoking conversations, conversations that not the average person's going to have with you, but who? Your favorite homegirl. But I know when I feel God impressing upon somebody's heart, okay, great. And so I won't stand in the way of that, because I'm a good grandbaby. That's who I am. So I'm going to go ahead and let me go. We talk later? All right, later.